So, did anyone feel a little uncomfortable with this gospel reading today? Okay, one person. Everyone else is lying. Okay, two. Okay, good. Confession. Father Diego is in the confessional right now. But it is one of those things that if we really look at it, and if we really hear this right, it's something, especially in our American sensibility, we don't like it. Imagine you're a construction worker and you're working the whole day. And those of you who are in construction, you know how difficult that is just to be out in the sun. And then during some of the easier hours of the day, the last hour, your coworker just squeaks in, does his little bit, and then the owner gives exactly the same amount to both of you. Doesn't there seem to be something that's like, that's not fair? And yet, the Lord is using this experience of business, of economy, to really, make our heart uncomfortable. And He's going to use that as a jumping stone to talk about something deeper than just business. He's talking about our life. He's talking about salvation. And the hours of the daylight are the hours of our life. And there's a limited amount of time before the darkness comes. And we see this landowner, and his desire is for everyone who wants that place in the vineyard to be there. Do you notice how much he's working? Sometimes we forget about the landowner's actually working a lot. His whole day, from the beginning to the end, is him going around the marketplace, going to the highways and byways, going into the hot sun to find people, to give them their dignity. And for anyone who's ever maybe had that experience of not having a job, or maybe standing on a corner and just waiting for someone to come over and say, hey, I have a couple things to fix, can you help me? People that have maybe experienced that before, there's that feeling of, as people are passing you by and you don't have a job, there's a loss of dignity. And there's a sense of, do people actually care about me? This landowner is going out and he's making a great effort to look around and see who's being looked over. He finds people that are standing there. And instead of judging them, being like, well, you guys are a bunch of lazy people, he says, why are you here? Why are you idle? And notice what they say. They say, because no one chose us. No one wants us. We're part of the throwaway culture. Do you see how they wanted to work? They're not just sitting there being lazy. They're looking, but everyone's passing them by, and they're the forgotten ones. And the heart of this landowner is saying, come, you have a place in my vineyard. And in many ways, this landowner is not acting like a landowner, because, from a business standpoint, there's something a little off, but you're actually seeing that this landowner is acting more like a father. A father who knows what we need and loves his children and sees some of these children outside, and it's getting darker and darker, and that gate is shutting. And he's saying, I don't want anyone to be lost out there. I want you to come. Come to my family is what he's saying. That's his heart, his generous heart. It even says this in the first reading. He's generous and forgiving. Seek the Lord while he may be found. And in fact, Christianity is the only religion out there that it's not us going on a quest for God. But the Catechism of the Catholic Church actually says in the very beginning, the difference between all other religions that are all sort of seeking God is it's actually God seeks us first. And that's a game changer. It's God, the landowner, looking for us, hunting for us, saying, Adam, where are you? I want you back home. I want you in my family. And we have to respond to that. as all of these different people are doing, but notice how the ones at the very beginning of the day, they aren't living this heavenly perspective. In many ways, they're living a hellish perspective. Think about what hell is like. Hell, there is no generosity, and there is a focus on justice, but a warped sense of justice. I deserve this. I should be better than this person. I am better than this person. Why are you not giving me this? Because I deserve this. And all of hell is pretty much an eternal version of everyone just elbowing each other saying, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Versus heaven, it's praise God, you're here. Praise God, the gifts that you are shining forth. Your voice, which is not my voice, is singing, and because of that, I'm enriched in my voice. It's the furthest from competition. But notice the envy that's within these first that are brought in. And it kind of reveals something about their heart. They saw the last, the ones that scooted in at the end, and maybe they were inwardly judging them as they see them scoot in the end and be like, well, I actually am more important here because I've been here since the beginning. And this person, they're helping, but they're going to get little. And then we see that they get the usual daily wage. And what's the first thought? Wow, I'm actually going to get more because I'm better than them. And then when they get the usual daily wage, what happens? Their heart is revealed because they're grumbling, they're complaining, and they say these words. These last ones worked only an hour, and you have made them equal to us, who bore the day's burden and the heat. So they didn't see that call for them to be welcomed into the vineyard to work was actually a generous gift. It wasn't something owed to them. And they took it for granted. They fell into entitlement, saying, I did more, therefore I'm better. And as they saw the others get the same daily wage, they said, well, therefore I must get double. But think about, what is the daily wage at the end of life? When the sun sets and we have been working in the vineyard of the Lord, whether we started at the beginning or we squeaked in at the end, the daily wage is Jesus. God doesn't give us just a payment, he gives us himself. And you see what these workers from the beginning are saying? Well, I deserve double Jesus, and this person deserves only 1/4 of Jesus. But Jesus doesn't work like that. They don't fully understand the unmerited gift of mercy that they received. All of these workers were like fish that have jumped out of a fish tank, and there is no way in heaven that they're going to be able to get in there unless the one who is from heaven comes down and lifts them up and places them back in. But do you see how they didn't see that? Because they didn't see the landowner as a father. They saw him in the warped vision of, he's a master, I have to prove my worth. And by proving my worth, I make myself get ahead of everyone else because maybe there's not enough to go around. There's not enough mercy to go around. And so therefore, I have to push everyone else back. It's survival of the fittest. And I need to get up there first to show I'm better than everyone else and I deserve the place at the right hand of the Father. And yet the Lord doesn't work that way. He's like, I'm giving you everything. Remember the story of the prodigal son? The older brother who's mad because his younger brother wasted everything. He came to his senses. He finally came back. The father holds this giant party, and the older son is like, I don't even want to celebrate the party because you gave all of that to him and you didn't give me a party. And remember what the father says. He says, son, Everything I have is yours. Do you see how that older son didn't even realize the gift? And he was working more as a master to a slave versus a father who knows what he needs even before he asks. So this is the call of our hearts. And as we go back into this passage, it's important to maybe look and see what's going on in our heart, because it's going to reveal something in our own heart. What is the way in which that hellish way of competition, of fighting, of saying, I'm better, I need more, I deserve more. This is owed to me, God, because of what I've done. And how dare you, Lord, be generous to this person who didn't do what I did? That's a hellish way of thinking. And if we follow that all the way, then we live that for eternity. So we have to not think of heaven and hell merely as just that place way over there. That's the fulfillment, but we start to live hell in our mindset on earth, and it just carries over into eternity. Or, like St. Paul today, we live a heavenly reality starting here and having its culmination in heaven. But the heavenly reality is, Lord, praise God that you gave me this gift that I didn't deserve, and you put me at the very beginning of the day. And yes, I'm bearing the heat, I'm bearing the burden, but I'm doing it out of a generous love, like you bore my sins on the cross, and you brought me into the vineyard in a way that was not entitled to me, but it was a total gift. And Lord, just give me your heart to be able to bear suffering, to bear the burden, so that all of those that are maybe on the fringes and haven't come into the family of the vineyard can even in some way, through my sacrifice offered in union with your sacred heart, may it somehow send that shockwave of grace out to bring my brothers and sisters home, so that I can celebrate with them and not say, well, I'm better than you, but rather, praise God, you made it. Let's celebrate together. We have the usual daily wage, but who cares, because it's Jesus, whether I have this amount or this amount. It's an infinite grace. It's overflowing. It never, ever ends. And God gives us more than we can possibly imagine. But a lot of times we, in a sense, imprison ourselves when we start thinking in the hellish sort of way, and we limit God's generous gift. So my homework for you this week is to take this passage again. It's Matthew 20, Matthew, 20, Matthew. Now you have it stuck in your mind like a little rap. 20 Matthew 20. Read it again and really open your heart to say, where is this touching my heart and making it uncomfortable? Where have I, maybe without even realizing it, been living a hellish way of thinking? And Jesus lovingly wants to come and say, son, daughter, you're with me always. Everything I have is yours. But we have to celebrate, because your brother was dead and he's alive again. He's lost and is found.